18 waiting for us.
I always hear a lot of guys calling in, and they're always like, down and out about their haircuts.
I'm begging anybody out there, before you go and get surgery, before you walk into these hair clubs to some places, I'm telling you right now, I am $20,000 in the hole, and 10 years of stress, the last 3, an absolutely horrifying existence of stress and pain. And I can promise you, the stress of this hairpiece is 1,000 times more than I would have ever felt if I had just been confident with who I am, dealt with the fact that these are the cards I've been dealt, and deal with them, and just shave my head. And honestly, like Spencer said, not everyone's there, but that's where I'm at.
When you think about it, hair is all we men have got. We don't have the option of using makeup to hide the flaws in our appearance or enhance our good traits. Once the hair goes, that's it.
And now something completely different.
Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside
I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hair loss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality?
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. Of course, if you are listening or watching the broadcast anywhere else in the world, you can try to get in. We have a UK line, which is on Joe Tillman's YouTube page, and I can give it to you guys right now if I could find it. And that number is local in the UK, which is 0203-3724-683. Right, Joe?
That would be correct.
Welcome to the broadcast. Friday afternoon for us here on the west coast of the United States of America. 10 p.m. In Europe, right?
10 in Europe, 9 Greenwich Mean Time, which is, I think, Western UK.
Okay.
Something like that. Yeah.
And obviously 5 p.m. on the East Coast of the United States. Welcome to the broadcast. This is the Hair Loss Show. Doing this broadcast for going on 21 years. It's actually just 20. It's just 20 years. It's a little over 20 years. But I'm in my 21st year of broadcasting our message. Now, the message is essentially the same. The hair loss industry sucks. Hair loss in general is no matter how politically incorrect it may seem to talk about this, and so the fact that hair loss is still the last bastion of political incorrectness, hair loss affects those who are dealing with it in ways that those who are not dealing with it can never possibly understand. I was just interviewed by the CBC yesterday, and I was speaking to a very lovely woman, and she was asking some really smart questions, I thought, especially for someone who really didn't understand the hair loss industry or hair loss in general. And, the one question that always comes up when you're dealing with the mainstream media is, why is it so important for men? Why is it such an issue for men? And then you kind of have to explain, that whether you're a man or a woman, what it's like to feel as though your self-esteem is eroding along with your hairline. And I told her to imagine, shaving off a half an inch or even, a quarter of an inch of her hairline and walking around that way for a few months, even though it's going to grow back in a year, and see how comfortable you would feel in your own skin, and kind of putting it into, essentially like Dennis Miller just said, this is all we got. I can't put on makeup. I guess I could, but I don't think I'd enjoy that. Maybe Joe would. I don't know.
No,
and there's nothing wrong with that. But we have our hair, and we have a beard that we can either shave or grow in different configurations. That's it. That's what we have as guys. So in order to feel comfortable in our own skin and to appeal to the opposite sex, or in some cases the same sex, or in some cases now, whatever you relate to, what is it called when someone thinks they're a door or a horse?
Huh? A door or a horse?
Anyway, there's all these like different types of sexuality and people who, what is it called? I can't think of the word. God, I'm getting old. They relate to being something.
They
associate themselves as that's not even the right word. I can't think of it.
Yeah.
Again, I'm telling you, this guy left the legal marijuana here. There's only a little bit left.
It's just the aroma that's affecting you, right?
Oh, my God. I got to get rid of these friends. Anyway, I love the guy. The phone number is 888-659-3727. Feel free to call in. Our lines are lit right now. So if you're trying to get through, we don't have a busy signal here. For whatever reason, the VoIP lines they go right to either a voice system or some sort of a inbox, mailbox that gives you directions to do something, or some people say that it picks up and it hangs up on them. If that's happening to you, that means our lines are busy. Eventually, as the show grows, we'll be able to forward our own busy signal. But at this point...
But we can't do that until you like this video.
Yeah, like the video. Phone number 888-659-3727. So to get back to this reporter, I mean, she did get it eventually, and she was really nice about it. And I'm hoping that what they're going to be doing on CBC Radio is going to be something that's going to be compelling and more interesting and more on point than what we usually hear and see in the mainstream media. And now that includes all the bullshit that is online. We are here to provide you guys with a safe place. Now, when I first started saying that, no one said safe space or safe place. Now everyone's saying it.
Colleges, universities.
Right. So this is a safe place for all of us hair loss sufferers, those who are dealing with hair loss. And I appreciate, how do you pronounce that guy's name in the chat? Bacatero?
Bacatero.
Yeah, I'm complimenting my haircut, which was actually done 2 weeks ago. But thanks for noticing. But no, I do appreciate that. I take it for where it comes. Anytime I get a compliment, it feels good. But, you know, I am hoping that as things evolve, as our message gets out there through YouTube especially, because the reason we are on YouTube now and not just doing the program the way that it used to be done, originally through terrestrial radio, then syndicated, you know, through XM satellite radio, and then syndicated online through iTunes, which it still is. You know, Tuesday nights we got iTunes, iHeart, you know, all of the main radio-like syndicators are actually broadcasting or streaming online through apps and also through cars, at least here in the U.S. This is a very special broadcast, I think, the Friday broadcast especially, because we really are catering to YouTube and to Joe Tillman's YouTube page. And the reason for that is that YouTube is fucking out of control when it comes to all the bullshit that's being promoted and talked about when it comes to this industry. Now, it's not YouTube's fault.
No, of course not.
I want to make that clear. And the reality is there's a lot of guys out there that I think are trying to do something good, that may have good intentions, and there's nothing wrong with making a buck. I'm a fucking entrepreneur, you know, I have no problem with that. But there's a lot of misinformation, there's a lot of clickbait, there's a lot of bullshit that's being put out there for, sadly, the most vulnerable population of hair loss sufferers. And those are usually younger guys who are really in the initial throes of their hair loss.
Yeah.
You can't do PRP in your house. You can't do it. You could actually perform the procedure, but it's not going to do anything for you. And you can possibly really harm yourself.
Yeah, it can possibly put you in harm's way with the lack of proper protocols for, you know, injecting yourself.
Do you even realize the veins and the arteries and the possible blood clotting and thrombosis and all the shit that you can cause? Even with what you consider to be a minimal injection using a syringe anywhere on your scalp, you could be one of the guys that has some weird fucking artery in your head that you don't even know about. And
it and you can jab it and
then you're dead.
Pump a nice fat air bubble into it. Nice knowing you.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's incredibly irresponsible for anybody to put that message out there. And I don't think they mean to be irresponsible. That's the point. They just have to know that it's dangerous. It's irresponsible. They're unwittingly, I believe, putting people in harm's way. I don't think anybody that you've shown me on YouTube, for the most part, except for maybe some guys who are directly connected to doctors, are malicious or evil in any way. They're just young dudes who are like, hey, I got a hair transplant. I'm going to talk about this, and I think I can make some money doing it.
Yeah.
I think that's great. I really do. Just, you got to, I hope these guys listen to the broadcast. Take what we're providing and use it on their channels. I'm fine with that. That's
the thing. I mean, I even reached out to a couple of these guys offering to, in my smug manner,
yeah,
just offering to review some of the information that they want to put out there behind the scenes completely, not asking for any credit, not asking for any, any acknowledgments, nothing whatsoever, just to make sure that they're putting out information that is legitimate. And I got crickets back, and that's fine. What do you do?
Well, it happens in the forum world. It happens when, people, wanting to, spread the word about, embedding our show and stuff like that. The reality is, I don't know what it is about people in general, but also people have this fear of competition, as though instead of, and this is an interesting story. I was telling this to, I was on the phone with our friend and one of the original FUE pioneers, John Cole. And I was telling him how when you decide to become independent, and I saw you doing your thing online and promoting what you're doing, I'm just like, this is fucking great. Like I saw it as a tremendous opportunity to band together with someone who actually knows what the fuck they're doing. Whereas others in the industry got their hackles up and saw it as some sort of a threat. And unfortunately, you end up having to deal with that.
Well, I mean, it's something I've learned over the past few years that it doesn't matter how valid the information is. It doesn't matter how helpful it may be to anyone that listens to it that has any sort of interest in this field or this problem that's affecting so many of us. If it's coming from a specific person, then it must be bad because it's competition. The message itself doesn't matter. And it's actually a big learning experience for me because it shows me that a lot of people don't give a shit about the message. They just they just really only care about their own little universe and controlling their information.
Don't let it affect my traffic. Oh, man, do not let this affect my traffic. Why would we promote the bald truth or someone who has another forum or whatever? It's craziness to me. To me, it's like, you have another forum? Why don't you come and post on our forum? We'll post on your forum. We'll promote the same message, which is patient safety. Surgery is a last resort. It's all about education. These are good doctors. Some doctors may sponsor some other forums that don't sponsor other forums. Who the fuck gives a shit? None of it matters.
What's funny is I actually had one forum person say that they felt like, my presence would be promoting doctors I work with. And what's funny about that statement is that, first off, I don't directly promote anyone. I don't go out of my way to promote anyone I work with. It's just it's third-party validation. Just like, I mean, they're associated with me because of XYZ, blah blah blah. That's about as far as I go, except for specific videos on their playlist. But his issue was, well, he's promoting his doctors and basically saying, I'm not getting anything out of that. What he failed to understand is that the people that I work with are also on his website, that they're paying him for membership on his website. And so the conflict is completely, I don't even understand what the conflict is. I'm not even sure that when this statement was made that he even understood what he was saying, because it's completely irrelevant.
There is no conflict. I think I know who you're talking about. And when I got into the forum game, I was like, gave this guy a heads up. I'm like, listen, we're going to launch a forum. A lot of nonsense is going on online. A lot of the physicians and other good people in the industry really think there needs to be some balance without all of the, behind the scenes harassment and nonsense and extortion and all the stuff that goes on in these message forums. And I said, why don't you make yourself a page? You could introduce your forum and we can work together. And I even said to him, you don't need to promote us. We'll promote you. Because I had, at the time, I was, the radio show was going pretty strong, and this guy lost his shit. I was invited to his fucking wedding at one point. He lost his shit.
Yeah.
And you know what could have happened if he would have joined forces? Today he would be relevant as opposed to where he is right now, which is essentially invisible. It doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Anyway, I'm glad you became a free agent so I could pick you up.
Thank you. So you can pick me up.
888-659-3727 is a toll-free number. This is the Hair Loss Show. Let's get to your calls. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from? Hello.
Hi there. Hi, my name is George. I'm calling from Galashiels, which is in Scotland.
Hey, George, welcome.
Hey, George.
And thank you for calling all the way from Scotland. That's awesome.
Do you know, it's such a pleasure, and it's so bizarre. I didn't realize it was an American. I know you have an international reach, but I discovered you. I was listening to Radio 5 Live, and I heard Specs on there, who I think you guys know. And then weirdly, I saw a couple of articles.
Spoke to who?
Specs.
Who?
Specs. Dude, Specs is on the UK show, man. He's my co-host on the UK show.
That's the Scottish way of saying eyeglasses. Specs. What?
It is. It's so confusing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also saw a couple of articles in the Telegraph, and I thought, I'm going to call in. I'm going to call into the show. So I had no idea that it was like an American thing, and I checked you guys out on YouTube, and it is so nice because what you were saying before about a safe place.
Right.
It really, you hit the nail on the head. It's like, where'd you go to talk about stuff like this? Who'd you talk to? So, yeah. First of all,
Joe is just about to launch the Small Penis Show for all of you guys who are interested. So,
the first example is Spencer Kobren.
And you know what? I could take that. That's the thing. And I'll actually get up and pull down my pants and show the world, just because I don't want you guys to feel bad about yourselves.
But that's only when he is wearing pants. Usually he just has to stand up.
That's true. That's true. So go ahead, man. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No. It's funny. Yeah, that's brilliant. Thankfully, I don't need to call into that one. But
good for you.
To say that I'm thinking about a hair transplant, and I'm on finasteride. I've been on it for a couple of years. I'm on minoxidil as well, and I use something over here, shampoo, which is...
Your phone is breaking up. It sounds like you just went underwater for a second. Let's try that again.
Sorry, can you hear me now? Is that better?
Yes, much better.
Yeah, I'm on this triple threat of finasteride, minoxidil, and shampoo as well, like an anti-dandruff shampoo. But around my temple, I came onto this stuff too late.
How old are you?
And so I'm 40.
And when did you start to notice hair loss?
If I'm honest, it was probably about 10 years ago.
Well, we'd like you to be honest on this show, first of all.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm honest with myself,
yes,
not if
I
I'm
know.
honest with you.
I'm just fucking with you. So 10 years ago. Okay, so you noticed the initial signs 10 years ago. When did you first get on medication?
Literally 2-3 years ago.
Holy shit. I had to wait almost a decade because it didn't exist when I was a kid. I wish I had the opportunity to just get on it right away because I would probably not be painting my bald spot right now. So how far have you progressed in the last 9 years since you...
Actually, probably not. It's not been too bad. It's thinned around the temples. It's definitely thinner on top, and it's thinned at the crown. But I mean, I in some respects, I'm very lucky. I still sort of have a head of hair, and I can style it with minoxidil, funnily enough, to sort of cover up the bits.
That's great.
At the front, at the temples at least. The crown is a complicated beast. But yeah, I mean, I think it hasn't been a fast thing. So I sort of ignored it.
Well, have you noticed that, and you're breaking up a little bit, so let me know if you could hear me, but have you noticed that since you've been on finasteride, and you said you're doing the triple threat, since you've been treating yourself, have you noticed a cessation or a slowing down of your hair loss?
100%. Yeah, okay. 100%. It's definitely, I would go so far as to say I've regained some hair.
That's amazing.
Which is, yeah, which has been great.
And how long in total have you been on it?
3 years now.
Okay. So have you regained enough where you think that you can live as is? Forget about trying to have the perfect young head of hair again. But if you were able to keep what you have and walk around for the rest of your life with what you have, would you be happy?
Oh, it's a difficult question, and I do ask myself the same question every day. I'm very aware of my hair, and I feel like for example, if it's windy or if I jump into a swimming pool, then how I style it is obviously out of the window. So then whatever I'm hiding is exposed.
Well, that's just to let you know, that's how I live my life. I am now 53 years old, and the sham that you may be, if you're watching it, the sham that you see took me at least, I did it quickly today, at least 15 minutes to kind of like paste together with hairspray, paint, and a little luck. However, I'm very satisfied with the ability to be able to do this, to be able to walk out into the world, and for the most part, look like I have a relatively full head of hair, and I feel comfortable with that. When I do go to a pool, everyone knows what I do, so I make the announcement. There could be an oil slick in the pool because I'm jumping in with some makeup on my head, or if I go to a dentist's office, there's always could possibly be an issue, or if it's a windy day, I have to put extra hairspray on, or I have to wear a baseball cap. And these are adjustments that I've made, but for the most part, I feel so lucky that I've saved so much hair. With that said, I understand why someone would want, in your position, you've done what you've done, and you're like, you know what, I feel a little uncomfortable. If I can make it easier for myself by having surgery, then why not do it? But the problem is, you don't know what the outcome is going to be of that surgery.
That's probably why I'm calling. I'm aware of shock loss, and I guess that's why I'm calling in, because what I would want, I've got receding temples, and I'm absolutely fine with that. But it's the part that thins towards the center that I would want to, have surgery on, and just to sort of thicken that up. And I'm aware that actually I might be doing more harm than good, and I guess that's why I'm calling you both.
I'm going to let Joe speak. So go ahead, Joe.
So when you talk about the temples receding, are you talking? I'm sorry. Before I answer or ask that question, can you see us right now? Are you watching the show as you're talking to us?
No, I'm not. I've come off that so that I could sort of. Okay. I'm Scotland. Like we have sheep and rugby and. Where I am, and there's not much else. There's no telephone mast or anything. We just have a guy with a flag. This is by a carrier pigeon.
Don't sell yourself short. You also have haggis. Yes.
I actually wish that I can live in that type of an environment and just totally unplug and just. I'm counting the days, dude.
You know what? Yeah. Just to
my
back
question
up,
is
beautiful. Yes, I do. I understand what you're saying. So I've got the two sort of triangles that you sort of see on someone who's getting older. Do you know what I mean?
No, I have no
idea. I'm talking. Okay, my question is, when you're talking temples, are you talking about the temple points, which are on either side of your scalp behind your eyebrows, or are you talking about the corners where it recedes into the top of your scalp?
Exactly, the latter of the two. So above the eyes, right on the scalp itself, where you have the sort of triangle or the V. I don't know what you would call it.
A forelock actually is what you're developing. You're receding to where you have this. Maybe you have a strong central point of your hairline, and then it's getting weaker on either side.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, yeah. So that is what we call forelock that's developing, where it'll be an isolated patch, and then you start to lose behind that patch and on either side, and it becomes an isolated forelock. And so I think that, Spencer asked one of the first questions I always ask people, and that is, if you could freeze time, at least for a number of years, where you are now, would you be able to live with that? And I was listening to your answer, and it's, you're really, you struggle with it. And then the issue is what you brought up. You understand that there are, potential issues with shock loss. And that doesn't even begin to speak to the issue of potential unnaturalness, multi-hair grafts in the hairline, all that great, wonderful stuff that I've been talking about on my YouTube channel.
Possible infection, gangrene, necrosis,
all that fun stuff.
The usual stuff that can possibly happen that usually doesn't. But these are all things that anytime you decide to have any form of cosmetic surgery, you're taking a calculated risk.
And even if you only air quotes got the lower end of the spectrum of those possible negative issues, would you be able to live with it? Would you be able to deal with the type of loss that you have now and have an additional negative to your aesthetic, making it that much worse? Say multi-hair grafts in the hairline, or say low density that could give away the unnaturalness, or misangled grafts.
I'm just laughing to myself. I should play like an announcement that this program is brought to you by the International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons. I mean, we're just fucking talking people out of surgery all the time.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But it goes back to my YouTube video, don't have a hair transplant. If you haven't really thought through the potential downsides and considered them, and considered what it might be like living with those downsides, and don't have a hair transplant. And I think that applies to you based on what you've said so far. You don't sound like you're dead set on it, and you don't sound like you're really against continuing with the status quo.
I actually just want to expand upon that and say that that is why it is so good to talk to someone about it. And I haven't really known who to talk to until this whole thing recently. And actually talking to you makes me just think I should actually just continue with the medication. Because, actually when you have the conversation with you, I am completely on the fence, but when you put it in those terms, as sort of clearly as you have, it sort of makes me think, well, actually, no, I need to give this more thought.
Well, to me, it appears that you are in a position where, at the very least, when all the stars align, if it's not too windy and if you're not jumping into a pool, you can make yourself look like you have a full head of hair and you feel comfortable in your own skin, like going to a bar or, whatever, like doing normal stuff, going out to dinner. That's huge. And the fact that you're 40 years old and you're in that position is incredible. Surgery is always going to be there. And it's possible that you're going to get worse, or it's possible you're going to stay the same. But if you watch it and you say, you know what, I really don't want to live this way, and if I can improve things, I understand what the entire scope and possible pitfalls are, and now I can move forward at least being fully informed. I just say wait. Wait until you can't stand it anymore, and that's when you have surgery.
That is very clear. Thank you, because I am not at that point. I'm not at the point where I can't stand it anymore. That is definitely true. And I guess what I'm doing is seeking perfection when I might not even get it.
Well, and that's the thing. And also, even before you do it, if you can't stand it anymore, shave your head first. Give that a try, or do something. Cut it really short. Do whatever you can Try every option before surgery. And with all of that said, if you are the right candidate and you are lucky enough to find the right staff and team of, in the right clinic, and we provide great options for you guys to start to do your research, it could be incredibly, empowering and just a great experience. But if you're not emotionally equipped to deal with the downside, I don't think you're a candidate. So these are all decisions you have to really take your time to think about.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys. Thank you very much for that.
All right, man. I wish you the best of luck.
Thanks for calling.
Oh, cheers. Take care.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Cheers.
Bye.
I'm glad he's listening, but I think I bummed him out at the end. I don't know.
Well, look, we're not here to, tell everyone stories that have rainbows and butterflies. I mean, it's don't have a hair transplant. That's what it comes down to, unless you are ready to do it.
Yeah.
And there's so much more to it. And he seems like a really nice guy. I'm really glad he called in. We love hearing from our Scottish listeners, but it's universal. It is what it is. Doesn't matter where you're from. If you're not ready to do it, then don't do it. And even if you are ready to do it, give it a third thought.
Well, and that's the whole point. I could say, hey, you know what? I know some people, close to your area. You should have a consultation. You should do this. The guy's not even ready for a fucking consultation, dude.
This was a perfect opportunity for us to say, you're in Scotland, huh? Okay, well, you know what? We got some great doctors that we work with, that you work with, that I work with, that would be ideal. You got a forelock developing, ideal situation for Dr. So-and-so, who I just so happened to work with.
Yeah, I just got
but we didn't.
I actually just got someone who wrote me from Ireland, and Maurice Collins actually applied to the IHRS, and
BlackRock. Yeah.
We haven't had the opportunity to talk yet because I get so many applications, but he's a very big name. And it's wonderful that he took the time to apply to the organization. As you guys know, if we were people if I solicited physicians, he would have been someone that I may have picked up the phone to call. But that's not what we do in the IHRS. And I think that's really a very important point to make. But
absolutely,
with that said, this person who wrote, all I had to do was send this guy to fucking, Maurice, tell him Spencer sent you, and I would have gotten an automatic, a lot of money a year, because he's be like, wow, this is pretty easy. I'm not even part of it yet. And all Kobren has to do is say, snap his fingers, and we get patients. But that's not what we do here. Now, there may be some YouTubers who do that. And those are the guys you have to look at with a jaundiced eye, in my view. Every member of the organization, every member that supports what Joe does, and every member, obviously, in the IHRS, they support truth in advertising, and surgery is a last resort. They know there's a chance they're going to lose some patients, but they understand that those are patients they don't want to begin with. They're not candidates for surgery. An informed consumer or an informed patient is their best patient and best customer, in quotes. And I wish some of these sales guys would fucking understand that. 888-659-3727. I'm sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
What?
You were disagreeing with me? Okay, good.
I was laughing when you agreeing.
Oh, yeah. None of them get it.
No.
Hey, man, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hey, guys. It's Nico from Manhattan. How you guys doing?
Nico, man.
Nico.
You get through. Good for you. What's going on?
So true with the last caller, man. It's like you set yourself up thinking you're going to do something to improve, and you end up regressing. I'm already, having to deal with revision issues, so it's a tough thing to fucking, deal with. It sucks. So I'm already dealing with revision issues, and had I known, I would have just probably tried shaving my head and that whole deal. But I'll try to move on with more focused questions.
Well, it's okay. I think
it's
important that you talk about your situation as it relates to this first caller, because that's reality. You went in.
Yeah.
You wanted to you wanted to improve your appearance. That's what cosmetic surgery is all about. And while there was, from what I remember, there was an improvement, you are dealing with issues that you didn't think you were going to be dealing with.
Exactly. I mean, it's funny. It's like I improved certain areas, and now other areas are hit in a way I never expected. Kind of sucks. But I'm dealing. I actually sent Joe a reference pic from online, just sort of as the focus of the conversation. I know he gets 1,000 emails, a million emails, but
I had to take the camera off, Joe, because he's not even fucking paying attention at this point.
I am. I'm glad you did, because I got to change my lighting situation. Keep talking, Nico.
It's actually, no, cool. It's I actually, when I called the other day, we were talking about tight closures, and so in areas affected by that.
Right.
And there's this picture online, and it's a classic that I always seem to go back to, even before I even had surgery. It's if you enter just Dr. U, F-U-T, it has an example of a guy who had a couple of strip surgeries, and you could see just sort of like how his hair is all shredded up. I don't know if you guys are able to pull it up either online or the one I sent to Joe earlier.
Joe can probably figure that out. And
I already have it ready to go.
Make that happen. But yeah, I mean, it is a real issue that happens all the time. Now, for all of you guys, especially the guys who may be involved with like FUE Europe, who are maybe tuning in for the first time, other doctors who are maybe tuning in for the first time, it's important that everyone knows, especially the physicians, that we believe in surgical hair restoration, hair transplant surgery for the right people. Joe is a fine example of what can be accomplished with good, love that smile, with good hair transplant surgery. But unless people know what the fuck they're getting into, they don't know. So if they're sold a bill of goods like everything's going to be fine, it's like going to the dentist, there's going to be no problems, they're going to be a lot more unhappy than someone who goes in there and say, oh, I guess I did get a little bit of a stretch scar. I knew this could happen.
Right.
Now, at least I know what I need to do to rectify it. So, Joe, you want to show that picture? Or what?
Yeah. Let me pull this up. I'm going to share my screen.
And I'm definitely going to take my own pics just to have a clearer picture for you guys in the next show, hopefully. But this is sort of just like the reference of what my concerns are for having a second strip, because I already have areas that are like my hair just feels very piecey in the donor. You know what I mean? Like certain areas under the scar, above the scar, mostly below.
And when you say piecey, do you mean like it feels like the quality of the skin has changed? It feels like there's less hair there. It feels bumpy.
Less hair there, and so like I have like sections of hair, and then like a break, and then another section, and then a break. And I don't even know if it's maybe Propecia, maybe resetting in the donor also. I have no idea if that's a likelihood whatsoever.
I would say that, and again, I am not a physician, but that's unlikely.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, especially if it's in that. And Joe, that's a lovely picture of me, by the way.
Well, I don't know what's going on. I was. Yeah. I had here it is. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Okay. I mean, listen, I like looking at myself. It's okay. Hold on.
You look wonderful, stuff.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so there you go. So this is you.
It's not me. This is
this is a photo that he sent, and I don't want to name the clinic where this comes from. This is not indicative of the clinic's work. This is an FUE case.
Oh, I thought it was
another clinic did, but he sent me this photo to show me this notch in the left-hand side that he's afraid that he's going to get.
Can you increase the size of the image for me? Old man Spence can see it, maybe.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So he's showing you that kind of dog ear, that notch. It's not even a dog ear.
That notch and that whole area that's just thinned out a shitload.
Yeah.
Right? You see that?
Yeah.
So I'm hiding what I feel like I have somewhere in between some of what you see before and after as a result of the tight closure. Now I'm covering it up with like a heavier, like a fix guard, I don't know, something like that on the sides. Very Jufro-y all overall.
Yeah.
With what I have going.
Well, you're lucky that you have that. You're lucky you have that quality of hair.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I've been described as having very fine hair, but just the way it comes across is very thick.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm concerned that if I already have little pieces that are looking like that as a result of a tight closure, and it's so hard to tell if you didn't know, if you lifted up my hair, you could see those kinds of thin areas.
Well, Joe,
I'm worried that,
Joe, I don't mean to interrupt you. Joe, let me, for our listeners and for our viewers, why don't you explain what's happening there in a succinct and lucid manner, please?
Well, what I'm looking at here, only because I don't know the history of this patient. Are we talking about the photo? Is that what you want me to explain?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know anything about the history of this patient, so I don't know why he was even in this clinic to get a procedure done, but it looks like he went in to have these areas that are outlined filled in, and then this is the after photo. Now, one thing I'm just to make a comment on this, I'm not crazy about the presentation because the hair here is brushed downward, which would cover anything, and this area here, it's just kind of all kinds of different directions for the sake of making this outline. So I don't, presentation things that I like to nitpick about, but what if this is from a strip surgery, which I can't say that it is.
I am looking at it, and that's why I wanted you to explain it, Joe, because I'm like, you cannot see if that actual demarcation or that issue is caused by the strip or caused by a tight scalp, because it's very high in the crown.
The way it was presented online was that it was the result of multiple FUT surgeries, and then the right side with the green screen is the repair.
Yeah, what I'm seeing here, it's like if this is from multiple FUT surgeries, then you would think with so little hair in that area that there would be an obvious FUT scar.
Yeah.
I do see a very thin scar, and I'll show you where that is. Right here. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, I'm looking.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do you see this line right there? That looks to me to be the actual strip scar. There might be one below it that I can't see. That in fact, it might be along this line here. I think I can see something.
It looks like it is.
Just outside there, and then going up here into this area. And this is something that some doctors will do. They'll go in multiple times with into different areas of the same scalp to take out a strip. But this area right here, this is caused by one of two things. This is either, as I think Spencer mentioned earlier, a dog leg from a bad closure on the end of the strip. And what happens is when you take a strip out,
dog ear,
you got the wound that comes up here, and then down below it comes also here, but it has to taper together at some point. And so that you can just kind of pull them to close. But if this area is more of a blunt end to that strip, then you have a folding issue where the tissue doesn't line up with an opposing side. And so it's kind of like this strange little folding action that has to be done using sutures or staples. And then you have this almost like a flap that kind of protrudes, and of course no hair is going to grow out of it because there is scar tissue.
What part of succinct did you not get, dude?
I'm only halfway through. The other potential for this is from a tight closure, where like what Nico's been talking about. It was a tight closure in this area. This is not actually normally an area of tight closure. We can see right here,
behind the ear, right?
Yeah, this is the top of the ear on this guy. I had to crop this photo to remove a logo, just so that it wouldn't be confused with the clinic that did this procedure, or the repair procedure. But this is the guy's ear, and I have to assume it's his left ear. This is the crown. This is the front. So a dog ear will usually occur in this area here.
Yep.
Behind the ear and above, or anywhere along this region. It rarely occurs here. The shock loss issue rarely occurs here from a tight closure. It's usually down here where a tight closure will produce a spot that usually is the size of a nickel or a quarter.
See, to me that looks more like that was a natural progression or natural thinness that may have been the integrity of the guy's scalp may have been changed, so it may have been pulled back a little bit, or pulled together, or
And the reason why we can see that's not the case is because the density here above the ear is much higher than above it before it gets to this point here. right? So this is an indicator that this is not retrograde alopecia, which is what could be considered the case if this didn't exist to begin with. So yeah, one of two issues here is third potential distant issue is was it alopecia areata, which can develop after procedures for God knows why, but that's highly unlikely. It's usually one of those two previous reasons that I mentioned.
Okay. Dr. Joe.
Thank you very much.
Now,
but I will say I am going to say that while it doesn't necessarily have to be retrograde alopecia, there are aspects of the scalp, areas in the scalp that for whatever reason will have slight thinning if there's no thinning around it. It doesn't have to be alopecia areata. It doesn't have to be full retrograde alopecia. And then that thinning can then be exacerbated, or not even highlighted, I should say, by stretching of the scalp.
Right.
Just from the strip itself. So that thin area could have been smaller. It could have been existed, and then kind of pulled back or stretched out once those closures were made. So it doesn't necessarily mean that hair loss was caused by the surgery. It could just be it could be that it was made more apparent by the surgery.
Right.
Sorry, Joe. I didn't mean to contradict you. I just wanted to add.
Okay.
I just wanted to add to your expertise.
No, that's fine. Yeah. I'm just I'm answering Henrik JS Cax in the chat room. He's calling from the UK and he wants to call the UK number and he's asking about the 00 scenario. I believe you're correct, Henrik. So give that a shot.
Yeah. Is it 001 or 011 or?
No, it would be 00.
00, yeah.
I think 00 then 4.
And the lines are busy, so if you try to call, just keep calling, and we're gonna take another call in a second. But listen, I appreciate you sending that image. I know that you're dealing with what you're dealing with, but I mean the good news is you're seeing some good doctors. Sadly, even in the best hands, there's always a possibility of problems. So I think your story is always really important, and it's important that you keep calling and updating us and letting other people know that this is not a perfect procedure.
Right.
And if it is perfect, you're lucky.
So I guess before you guys go, is a doctor who performs the procedure, a tight closure, and that kind of thing happens, should they be obligated to repair it for free? Not only just repair it for free, but any grafts that would help to repair it.
I think that is really dependent on the type of person they are and the type of clinic they run and the type of medicine they practice. I think that most caring physicians would feel the obligation to make their patient as happy as possible, to do whatever it takes to make them happy. If you were to allow that doctor to repair you. Now, there are some people who are like, well, I really feel like I was fucked up. I don't want to go back to this person. And that's a choice. That's a choice as well. But if you don't feel that way, if you feel like, look, this guy's done a good job otherwise, then I absolutely think that they should. Now, there are doctors out there who will say, we'll give you a really steep discount for a repair or to move more grafts in the area. I'm not a huge believer in that. I'm like, to me, I think once this guy's your patient and puts down that money for the surgery, if he's unhappy with certain things that you think are reasonable and rectifiable, then you should fix it.
Okay. I personally believe that we talked about this in the last show. I don't believe in blanket refund issues, or I think that
first of all, I agree with you 100% on that, Joe.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, it's tough because obviously patients spend a lot of money for their procedure, and they want the best outcome, obviously, and when things don't turn out the way that they want, then they're let down, and it affects their self-esteem. I understand that. I've been there, done that twice, but I don't believe that automatically refunds or free work should be done. I think that I think it's a two-way street. The patient needs to understand that they took a risk, and with a risk comes, consequences potentially. And I think that what Spencer was saying is a right way to go about it. It does depend on the doctor. It does depend on the clinic. And I think that talking to the doctor about your concerns, talking to him about, how it's affected you, and getting their input on what should be done is a good way to kind of finesse the issue. There are situations where you can go in and say, look, this is just horseshit. You really didn't. I mean, I understood the downsides, but there was nothing talking about this. Insert situation here. I think that there are situations where that's warranted. There are other situations where it's like, you know what, I did know that there's potential, but it still sucks, and I was wondering if you could help me out with this. Present options. I mean, if they say, yeah, we're happy to help, explore options. Well, would you consider a refund of some sort, partial or in full? Well, not full, because if you're happy with the growth, then I don't think a full refund would be even on the table. I think maybe considering a partial refund would be fair to at least discuss. I don't think full refunds are fair to discuss if it's not a full failure. I think it's a correlative issue. And then if you feel comfortable giving it another shot, then consider going back for them to give it another shot.
Yeah, well, I did see Dr. Bernstein, by the way, and he was great.
How'd that go?
Sorry. Oh, he was so God, man. Anyone in the New York City area, I highly recommend. As great, I think, as Dr. Dorn is with his work, definitely check out Dr. Bernstein. He's so smart and so just.
Did you tell him that we told you to go there?
Yeah.
Because I actually got an email. So you must have
send you a note?
You must have been talking a lot about the bald truth, or at least
yeah. I threw your name to saying, just because you made fun of how straightforward he is, and how he was great. I mean, he complimented the work that was done. He saw that the scar stretched. I told him about the different, the doctors that I went to for other consults. He recommended, Dr. Dorn's plan about doing a revision. I was just so in awe of him that I was just caught up, forgot to ask him other questions about sort of the question I'm asking today about, well, if I go for a second strip, am I going to come across these potential issues with worsening a problem that wasn't even a problem to begin with? I'm just going back to see Dr. Bernstein actually on Tuesday to really now just talk just about this part of it. I am going to see also Dr. Dorn on Monday to now, I mean, none of this stuff on the side was an issue. It was all about the recipient area initially and just filling up those areas that didn't grow as well. But now I'm dealing with donor issues, which just sucks.
Look, if Dr. Bernstein believes that the work that you received was good or reasonable, that's beyond a compliment. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Because he would tell you right away, that really sucks, man. You need to do, he doesn't pull punches. So that's good. And also that the plan that Dr. Dorn laid out was the correct plan. That's huge too. Now you just have to make a decision on who you want to, if you want to go that route, who you want to perform the surgery. And, my opinion is that if you trust Dr. Dorn, and he understands what the limitations are and what happened, and you trust Dr. Bernstein's advice, then if you're comfortable, there's no reason why, if you decide to get it done, not to go back to the same doctor in this particular instance. But that also doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that if you all of a sudden you like Dr. B more and you think that there's you may get a better outcome using him, then that's a choice you have to make.
Yeah, I'm just worried about getting a revision done. Period for the stretch scar is going to cause something closer to what we saw in that picture.
Anytime you're cut, you're putting yourself at risk, but they're calculated risks, especially with people who know what they're doing. So if they really believe, I think that if Bob Bernstein believes that it can be improved, he wouldn't tell you that, because he also knows that you are already a Doran patient. So there's a good possibility that if you decide to get it done, you're going to go back to him, and he's not going to make a dime.
Right.
So, but look, it's a risk, dude. It's always a risk.
Yeah.
But
and I guess, and I'm sorry to take up the line. I was just going to say, I think probably when I called the other day and I had mentioned about tight closures and assessing for a tight scalp, maybe that's why Dr. Doran had his concerns about what was going on above my ear, not about a laxity issue, but about that kind of issue.
Okay.
So,
well, listen, man, I'm glad you're keeping us
continued.
Yeah, I'm glad you're keeping us updated.
No, this is great. Keep us updated.
Let us know what Dr. Bernstein says again. Let us know what you decide to do. And if it's something that is tolerable right now and you can live with, and you feel happy with the way that the transplant grew in, and you're looking, looking straight in that mirror, and you're like, wow, I look better, you may have won. It may not be not a complete win. It wasn't a fucking home run. But you could still be ahead of the game. You know, maybe you got a double, and you might be able to steal third if you're lucky.
It's not one of those ones where you're running straight in the end zone unchallenged. It's like you get to the end zone after you have the shit knocked out of you. You do a flip and land in the end zone.
I was talking baseball first, by the way.
Well, I went football.
Okay.
And I'm so sorry, guys. Last thing, and I'm definitely going to get off the line, is I know, sorry.
Jesus.
If the problem was caused by the clinic and it's unpredictable and all that shit, it is, sorry for the yawn, I saw the yawn, is SMP, should the clinic also maybe be offered that as a freebie?
Never take anything as a freebie just because it's a freebie. Research the shit out of it as if you're paying $1 million for it.
Maybe it's wonderful to get SMP done, and all of a sudden in 5 years you have a nice blue spot on the side of your head.
Right, could be more problems.
I mean, God, I see what's going on with these head tattoos and all this shit. The whole thing is just insane. It really is. I think there's a place for SMP or trichopigmentation. I really think, again, to me, that's also a last resort. You know, that is let's fix the scar. Let's, maybe, if you are, maybe if you're a brother or if you have, really good, kind of Latino features, or you have Afrocentric features, and you want to create that really tight type of straightish hairline, it can work. I can see it really work, and there seems to be less shine on the scalp.
All right.
Some of the stuff that I see.
I'm in the donor area.
Oh no, I know. I'm just talking about it overall, the whole concept.
The
fact that it's such a huge thing now, it amazed me, and also the fact that surgeons are like, yeah, you know what? Why should we let these fucking tattoo guys take this market? We're going to bring it into our practice and make the money too. I'm just
and it doesn't fade for 7 to 10 years.
Yeah,
we've only been offering it for 6 months.
I'm just like, you guys did go to medical school, right? I mean, it
seems like such a Guido product on Staten Island.
That is a great reference. That is exactly what it's like.
I felt bad, and that's how I feel. Like it is.
It's politically incorrect, but I think that Joe agrees with it.
Nice.
You notice how I say that? Joe agrees with it.
Not you.
This does not reflect the beliefs or the thoughts of the Bald Truth, or the beliefs of the Bald Truth. So anyway, but listen, dude, that's how I feel about it, and I feel like there are good doctors offering SMP. They have people who are set up, and it's a whole thing. I just want to shake them and say, don't do this. Just don't do this. Don't offer. Just do what you do. Stick to hair transplant surgery, and let the tattoo people do the SMP.
Right on.
All right, man. You take care.
All right, guys.
All right.
Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.
You too.
Bye.
Phone number is 888-659-3727. I know that's not what these guys want to hear, but it's the truth.
It's the truth, and I want to address something that someone said in the chat room. If I scroll back up to it, Michael Duty. If a doc has told you that she has a 95% success rate, makes good business sense to offer some kind of refund for the 5% failures. It makes even more sense for the people that are being told this to also be told, so there's a 5% chance that this isn't going to work out, and no refund should be expected because you know going in full well that you might be part of that 5%. Any sort of refund is subject to, the situation specifically.
Absolutely.
I don't agree with that 100%. Just because someone says they got a 95% success rate doesn't mean they have to do jack shit to make up for anything.
You
later
are
on.
sadly one of the
You're the one
5%.
making the decision.
You signed on that fucking dotted line, and you can't expect these guys to give you a refund for whatever fuck ups that they admitted can possibly happen. Now, if it's something really bad, if it's something that is relatively easily repairable, it's really more about their time and paying a small amount to their staff to be there, like, revising a scar and, suturing it up. I think a lot of physicians just want to make their patients happy, and they'll do it, but they're not obligated to do that. And I feel the same way that Joe does. Now, I mean, I run a business, and part of what I do is one of the things I do in my business is obviously the IHRS organization. If I have to kick a physician out, and it's made very clear when they are accepted as members, that if they pay their full annual membership dues, and a lot of guys like to pay in advance, if you're kicked out, no ticking, no laundry, man. Is that politically incorrect? You are not getting a refund for the time not spent because you fucked up and you got kicked out of the organization. And they all understand that. There's only one guy that I kicked out that was made a big deal out of it. I was just like, look, man, I don't need your fucking money, but just read what you signed and don't bother me. You upsold liposuction to a guy who was under anesthesia who came in for a hair transplant who didn't even need one.
He was in the middle of having a hair transplant.
Yeah. You cannot be a part of what we do. I'm sorry. And Joe knows what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
Anyway, 888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. Hey, man, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from? Hello.
Hello.
You want to say hi?
Hello?
Yeah, hey.
Hi, this is Henrik.
Henrik, hi.
Henrik from Sweden.
Oh, cool.
How do you know Henrik's from Sweden?
Because he was in the chat room saying he's trying to call him from Sweden.
Oh, well, welcome, dude. How are you?
Yeah. Thanks, pretty good. Thanks. How are you guys?
We're all right.
Can't
complain. So what's happening, man?
No, I just think that what you're doing is so important. I just wanted to call in and kind of contribute to the show by adding content to the thing you're doing.
But dude, that's what this is all about. This is, I'm going to steal the line from a radio icon who I happen to like, Tom Likas. You guys are adding to the content kitty. And this information is what other consumers and hair loss sufferers, I think, really depend on. It's one thing for me and Joe to sit there and, give all this information out. It's another thing for someone to come in and tell their stories and to, contribute. So I appreciate you taking the time to call.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, of course, absolutely. Now, what I wanted to touch upon is kind of what you sort of talked about in your entering about mental health stress in relation to hair loss. And also share my story about how, to some extent, I think it's fair to say that Propecia kind of saved my life.
That's interesting. I like hearing that.
Yeah. No, I've been diagnosed with body dysmorphic disorder. I know you mention it in the show sometimes. I understand that you know about it. Maybe some of the listeners are not familiar with what it is.
Yeah.
I would say that I haven't been diagnosed with that. I have OCD, so I understand the compulsion and just the kind of like the concept of seeing things that aren't necessarily there and and focusing on things that aren't necessarily there. Like sometimes I'll wake up and I see Joe and he's not even there. No, but I'm not. I don't mean to diminish
No,
it.
that's confusing with wishful thinking.
That's true. No, I don't mean to diminish it, but I have OCD, so there's a similar compulsion component to it.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. They're kind of related, and I think it's great that you mentioned it. It makes it easier for a guy like me to call in. For instance, it's one of the reasons why I'm doing this is basically I'm first of all, there's no pride left. The other thing is that there's so much stigma around mental health stress today. Just by being open about it and to talk open about it, we can start to change that. And that's what I want to do. So if anyone can get any sort of comfort from hearing from me and my story, just feel that they're not alone.
Well, let's hear it, man, because, my motto is when people ask me how I'm doing, there's two things I either say: can't complain or I'm not well. And I'm very open about it when I'm not well. And it's usually not physical. There's some sort of issue going on in my head. So,
right.
So let's hear your story.
No, I think the BDD, I understand now in hindsight or retrospective, it's something that I've been living with for a very, very long time. From when I was a small kid, basically. And it's always been extremely handicapping. But somehow I always managed to keep myself together and, at least from an outside view, live a kind of normal life.
Well, explain, what was your BDD like? I mean, what were you mostly obsessed about? Was it every aspect? Was it like certain angles of your face or your body?
Exactly. No, it's hair. That's why I'm calling the hair show.
No,
I've always been preoccupied with my hair.
So it was hair before you started losing hair?
Right. From a small age. I mean, at that time, it was about the texture of my hair.
Interesting.
It was, very straight, fine, like glass-like in structure, very flimsy, sort of. So that was the issue. And during all these years, my greatest fear has always been to lose my hair, because even though I wasn't happy with my hair, at least I had hair. So that was fine so far. And then I guess at the age of 18, I started to notice a slight difference in my hairline. I had almost a female pattern at that time. So, and from there it's been, I have to say, slow progression. I'm probably Norwood 1.5, something like that today. I'm 41, so it's pretty good.
Oh my God, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, very lucky. But I'm definitely not lucky to be dealing with the body dysmorphic disorder and the fixation on whatever, whether it's just a body part or your hair, or I know people who do struggle. It's usually weight related. I actually knew somebody who had multiple cosmetic surgeries. This person did not need one, and I'm not judgmental about cosmetic surgery. I'm like, if you think you can, put these orbs in your body and make yourself look hotter, that's great. I'm fine with that. But this person went from a very attractive, like, girl next door type of chick to a Housewives of Beverly Hills gone wrong, And now she walks around. She's relatively young. She looks a lot older than she is. And she's in tremendous pain in therapy for her initial problems, and then the problems she caused herself by trying to be fixed, quote unquote. And the fact that surgeons would do that to this person without really assessing her psychological well-being and her psychological, what's the word I'm looking for, profile, or that she was psychologically balanced, that's what pisses me off, because cosmetic surgery is really part psychology. And doctors have to understand who the right patients are. And people with BDD usually are not the right patients.
Yeah, right. That's what I've been told.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Well, I think as hard as it's been, I mean, I still been able to live my life like fairly normal. I think up to the point well, here's the thing. In 2013, that was a changing point. That's when my girlfriend at the time went behind my back and started seeing another guy. We have a child together at order. And my logic at that time was that I had tried so hard to make things work. She's from France, she came to Sweden. The transition was really difficult. I tried in so many ways to make her feel happy in Sweden, and she left me. And my logic at that time was that it has to do with my looks. There's no other way because I've been trying everything to work. That kind of put me in this spiral. My way of dealing with that is that I numb myself by working my tits off. I have my own company.
Mm-hmm.
I did that for probably a year or so and burned my candles at both ends, so to speak. And in the beginning of 2014, I really hit the wall.
I numb myself in other ways in my life. So, I mean, work is always one of them. I'm a really crazy hard worker. But I also, I mean, Jack Daniels was a really good friend of mine for a long time. And I think the only reason I don't really enjoy drinking that much anymore is because I really can't drink anymore. Like, I get a headache. I kind of get loaded a little too quickly. So it's just like, you know what? I guess I'm too old. This is not for me. But I understand trying to find something to get yourself out of that mindset. And
I would simply numb myself with good old fashioned American denial.
Yeah, well, I did that too for a while. Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, that was at the point when the BDSD really started to consume me more and more, and to the point when I was totally infected by this disease. And to make things even worse, I mean, again, my focus area has always been hair. That was when I started to go through this shed. I was starting to lose hair really for the first time, like really noticeable.
Okay.
In retrospect, and from what I know now, I understand that was actually because of the trauma that I went through. Yeah. And it just continued. It from there, it went really bad. And this is really disturbing, but I think it's important to get it out there. Again, if this is helpful to anyone, then great. So 6 months from that, I was like seriously contemplating suicide because of hair. It's so disturbing.
It's disturbing, sadly, because you had to deal with that. But I want you to know it's not necessarily atypical. I've been doing this for a long fucking time, man, and I can't count. I was going to say on two hands. I can't even count how many people or mothers of kids who were, who actually attempted suicide over the years because of their hair loss. Not because of having a bad hair transplant. I'm just talking about because they're going bald.
Because of hair loss. Yeah.
So you're certainly not alone in those thoughts.
Yeah, and that's troubling because it's again, if someone would have seen me at that point, they would not have thought of me as someone who was going bald, and that's what's making this so complicated also. Because first, you're not happy with the way you look, and then you're punching yourself because you're not really in a position where you're supposed to feel bad about things. It's
right.
Like, but I just wanted to end because at that point, summer of 14, I was spending a good 5, 6, 7 hours in front of a mirror every day, or constantly thinking about hair.
That's heavy.
Which is, no. It's I was basically bedridden or just in front of a mirror. So, I think it was about that time when I came across the Bold Truth show for the first time. I started to do some research about hair transplant, and that's also when I came in contact with finasteride for the first time. So coming back to the finasteride thing, and I took it without. I took it with very little hesitation, I would say, because the side effects they didn't scare me at all at that time because it was like couldn't get any worse from this. So I just jumped on it with the idea that I would give this 6 months. Let's see if there's any improvement, and if I see any improvement, I will just keep on fighting this disease. And so basically what it did, it kind of bought me some time because it really helped me. And I that's not why I'm live today. I can't just, it's not just because of Propecia, but it definitely helped me to start to kind of reclaim my life.
Well, I have to say that.
Good.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have to say that I'm touched that, you finding the program gave you the opportunity and also the confidence in knowing that maybe there is something that you can do to help yourself. And I'm really glad you found us. I really am. And I'm glad that you're coming here to share that story. When people talk about mental illness, when people talk about, weird thing, body dysmorphic disorder, listen, I'm telling you, I have a movement disorder and OCD. I should not be behind this mic. I should not be a best-selling author. I should not be doing with everything that I was born with, unfortunately. Like in the outside world, I seem pretty okay, But I have struggled a lot in my life. And, I've always kind of just figured out workarounds on how to survive. I have learning disabilities, all kinds of shit. So when I hear stories like this, and stories of, we were born, we have a certain survival instinct. And in the end, winners, survivors, are the guys that really, they deal with the problems, they figure out a way to work through them, and then they're comfortable enough to even talk about it. That's when you're really winning, the fact that you're able to talk about it.
And I want to interject with just a couple of points of reference.
Don't make fun of my twitches, by the way.
No. I only do that privately.
Okay.
The type of thing that Henrik is dealing with, to put it in perspective for some of you listening that or watching that may not be aware of how this can affect people, I've met people in my career that have stood out to me 10 years later because of the severity of how body dysmorphic disorder has affected them. And one particular case that really stands out was my first time going to England to conduct consultations, which was 9 years ago, actually 9 years ago this month. And I met a guy who, knew me as my former online handle, Joetronic, and he followed my website that I had back then. And he showed up to this consultation, and he wanted to talk to me specifically, not the doctor I was there with, but me specifically, because he was looking to have hair as good as mine. Those were his words. But the hair that this guy had on his head, and some of you guys in Europe might have to look this up on Google, he looked like Eddie Munster. Like, he had not even a full head of hair. He had the head of hair of a primate.
Yeah.
Or as I said to Spencer the other day, like a 12-year-old primate when I was describing someone. Like, his hairline was maybe 2 inches above his eyebrows, and he had the density of a beaver pelt. Sorry. Yeah. But anyway, so the point is that, I mean, this guy obviously.
I don't think people in the UK know that beaver means pussy.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right.
Yeah.
But the point is that this can really affect people to the extreme, to where this guy who had more hair than, pick 5 of your friends that have a lot of hair. He had more hair than all of them combined on his own head. And he was looking to me and my, really high hairline, former Norwood 7 barely covered scalp as the ideal result that he would like to have with a hair transplant. He thought he was losing hair. He thought he was losing a lot of hair, so much to where getting to my point would be his ideal outcome. I remember thinking at the time, I wasn't that experienced with BDD. I'd run into people like that, but this was an extreme case that really made me step back and think, wow, this is a real thing.
Well, I got to say, I think your guy is a little bit more fucked up than our guy, because at least our guy has a real problem, So, but anyway, no, I know exactly what you're saying, dude, and it is a symptom of, again, it's a compulsion. it's almost like trichotillomania. We don't know why are these girls especially pulling their own hair out and their eyebrows out and all. It's just they're compelled to do it. They cannot, and I have certain compulsions. Like, it's fucked up. I'm much better now, but like, I used to have an album collection, right? Yeah. Everything had to be in its fucking place. And when I put the album in, if someone put it in sideways, upside down, whatever it is, I had to fix it and then touch it in a certain way, like 10 times. Otherwise, I could not feel comfortable.
It's classic OCD.
Or leave the room. Yeah. I had Alan Bauman here in studio, and he had to hold the door to the hallway while I came back to the studio to OCD check to make sure that nothing was plugged in and everything was off, even though I knew that it was. And I checked the iron for good measure, even though I didn't use it. So that's a reality, and I could joke about it because I know what it is. But to stand in front of the mirror for 7 hours and be bedridden and all that stuff, that is what this is what happens to people. But I mean, so right now, as it stands, how are you doing?
I'm glad. I'm happy to say it's much better, actually. Again, I think that again the Propecia really helped. It has, again, it bought me some time.
I'm glad, man.
Enough time to start doing other things, such as I do a lot of mindfulness these days. And here's the thing: at that time, the reason I chose to continue to live, it wasn't for myself; it was really because of my daughter. So that was enough for me at that point to focus on that. Now I'm trying to focus more and more and actually do things for myself as well. It's been an uphill battle. But the good thing is that my hair is back probably to where it was before I started to shed.
That's great.
I landed on my feet and back to work. I worked full time again since 2017. I had 3 years off, but now I'm back. And the most important thing, I'm able to take care of my daughter again. And
outstanding.
So I'm in a pretty good place right now. So
well, listen, man, it's so great to hear a story like yours. Someone who's been through hell and back, and now is in a better place. And I'm glad I'm really appreciative that you took the time to call us to let us know about this and to share your story, because believe me, there are thousands of people who are listening or who will hear this recording. I was going to say tape. That's how old I am. This recording, and they're going to relate to exactly what you're dealing with. I mean, we had some old time callers who don't call in anymore, but I mean, Joe from Staten Island is an example of someone who has essentially allowed his life to be destroyed.
Sure.
And you're taking control, though. You're taking control of your life in a way, and it's beyond the Propecia. It's great that Propecia helped you, but and it will probably continue. But you're, like we said, practicing mindfulness. Now you're able to work again. You're getting back in the saddle. You're only 40. So believe me, that doesn't sound young when you hear it, when you say it to yourself. But to me, that sounds young. So you got a lot of life ahead of you. So I want you to enjoy it.
That's good.
All right, man.
Like you said, I'm really glad I found you. It's I think it helped me to find some kind of peace of mind. Also, I mean, the fact that I know that now I do basically everything I can do to slow or halt the progression with finasteride and minoxidil and laser. I mean, I'm doing the works basically. That helps to feel a bit more.
You have more of a sense of control, and that's really important. Yeah. Well, listen.
Absolutely, you can understand.
Absolutely, and that's great. And again, I'm so glad that you found the show. Keep watching. Call in whenever you want. You're a great caller, and keep us abreast of how you're doing. And people need to hear these types of stories. So I don't want you to think, okay, you told your story, that's it, you're never going to call again. you know, there's always going to be different pieces of the story that you're going to be able to bring to the table to help other people who are dealing with exactly
Sure,
what you're
there's
dealing
so many dimensions of it, obviously. But again, the main reason why I'm doing it, and it takes a lot from me because first, English is not my first language, so I'm very self-conscious about that.
You speak better than I do. So.
That's quite good.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
But I think it's so important to again set an example for other people. Again, if there's anyone who hear this and feel less alone in this thing and the demons they're fighting, then that's a good thing. Then I've done my piece.
Well, dude, I really appreciate it. Good luck, and have a good night, and hopefully we'll talk soon.
Yeah, thanks for calling.
Appreciate it.
All right, you take care.
You're welcome.
Good luck.
Take it easy. Bye.
Bye-bye.
888-659-3727. Again, now I got to do this for another 10 years. Every time we get a call like that, it's like, oh, fuck. There's a reason why I'm still here.
I think it's time for Follicle Friday.
It's Follicle Friday.
It's Follicle Friday. Let's see. Today's current Follicle Friday for August 3rd, 2018. Your hair grows faster in warm weather when hot temperatures promote circulation and increase blood flow to your follicles. Follicle Friday.
We need to give attribution to the International Society of Hair Restoration surgery for that one. Yes. And for every Follicle Friday that's out there.
Been read aloud here on The Bald Truth.
Now, sadly, Joe is mocking this poor organization, but I think they deserve it. Listen, we joke around, you know, but the truth is hair loss is not a fucking joke. If you're going to spend money, you're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Sadly, and this is a big myth about nonprofits. I ran the biggest nonprofit in this field for many, many years. We decided to just let our 501c3 status expire because we didn't need tax-exempt status because we're not drawing salaries from the nonprofit. We are not spending any money on staff for the nonprofit. Everyone who works with the American Hair Loss Association, I say with because it's on a voluntary basis, does it for free. All information is free.
Yeah.
That's it. And you know who pays out of pocket for web stuff and all that stuff? I volunteer that money. It is my donation. I decided to run a true nonprofit organization. Those who believe that nonprofits can't make a profit, that's another big myth. All you have to do is look at a nonprofit's bank account, especially in this industry.
And see what the salaries are of everyone that's running that nonprofit.
And see what the salaries are of anyone who is either running or associated with nonprofit. Also see how much money is being spent on board of governors' annual vacations. So a bunch of people can get together, do some bullshit, you know, PowerPoint presentation, and get drunk in the Bahamas. So they're also spending their membership money, their dues, you know, from the 1,000 some odd people who pay dues, on a social media company to put out this fucking crap.
Follicle Friday.
On Follicle Fridays. And it's sad.
Which is why I read it aloud every Friday to put emphasis on just how silly it is, and why I started my own campaign called Awareness Wednesdays.
Which I like very much, by the way. But I will say this. Anyone who is on the board of governors of the ISHRS or who is a influencer within that bureaucracy of an organization, you guys have so much potential to do so much good. Your organization can be turned around in a way that you can't even, for whatever reason, comprehend the good that you guys can do. It's fucking time to do it. Let's do it. We've given you many opportunities. We'll continue. The door is always open. There are no rules of engagement. When it comes to a 501c3, the only obligation that you have is to the IRS to prove that all the funds that you are using are for the charity and should not be taxable. That's it. You could have one person up there saying, okay, you're in, you're out, you're in, you're out. You don't need a board of governors, you don't need any of that stuff. You need your basic board, your president, your treasurer. Depending on the state, you could have one person, like here in California, as the entire board. And you make all the rules. All the rules. You don't like people who are doctors who are not performing surgery. You don't endorse them with your seal and let them pay you annual membership dues. That's it. You don't put out impotent messaging and then endorse these guys with a fucking seal and take their money.
Be loud, be proud.
Holy shit. Sorry, every time I hear that.
I know.
It's like, listen, I'm very close to West Hollywood. That's all I'm saying. I hang out with people who wear those types of T-shirts and logos. They usually have rainbow on them.
That's the thing. That's and for people to say, I want to get that quota just right. Hang on a second.
So I think that's a great message for the gay population. Doesn't work so well in this particular scenario.
See, where is it? I can't find global counseling. Global counsel? No. There was what I'm referring to, just so people understand, they also have this program where they have this, only physicians and licensed medical personnel should be conducting surgery, which isn't a bad message. I want to make that clear. But they promote the use of this message and putting it on member physician website by saying, be loud and be proud. And the running joke is that it sounds like it's for a gay pride parade. Not the best way
I
to
thought
present
that's
that
what it
message.
was.
I know.
For like a year.
But no.
I was
Follicle
like,
Friday.
so are they supporting gay pride? Because I'm
Which is
cool.
great.
I'm cool with that. But you got the wrong color scheme.
Where's the rainbow?
Yeah, where the fuck is the rainbow? 888-659-3727. So guys, listen, we're joking around, but we're really not, because you guys are fucking up. You guys have the opportunity to really affect change. You're losing the reins of the industry. You're losing the reins of your own practices. In time, every old school guy in the ISHRS, even if they're not that old, if they're just like hyper glued to becoming part of this, bureaucracy, and they turn their backs on everything else, you will become irrelevant. You will not be practicing in this field. That's just the way that it is. I have 12 guys within a half a mile radius of me who are now offering hair transplant surgery in their plastic surgery practices. All of you motherfuckers will be irrelevant. And sadly, you know who's going to be harmed the most? Patients. So if someone doesn't take charge, nothing's going to happen. And I actually wrote today to a group of doctors that sadly the ISHRS, and again, I think this is important. I think there are people that they're too concerned about what the ISHRS is doing. To me, it's like the only reason I'm concerned about what the ISHRS is doing is because I believe that what they're doing is neglecting their obligation to really serve patients.
And wasting an opportunity to educate patients.
Right. So that's why I talk about them. Otherwise, they are completely irrelevant in my sphere. I was going to say something that really had a lot of impact, but I forgot what it was. So let's take a phone call, and if it comes back to me, I'll let you know. I got to stop smoking pot, by the way. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Tim from Germany. Hi, Spencer. Hi, Joe.
Hey,
what's the name? Sven?
Tim or Sven?
Tim from Germany.
Tim from Germany, welcome, man. International
Tim from
callers, welcome. How are you?
International Caller Friday.
Yeah, I love that.
Very excited to get through. I've been listening to your show like for months, and sorry for my English. It's not my like with Henrik.
Dude,
Henrik
all
was
of you
great,
guys, if I could speak another language, even a fraction of the way you guys can speak English, I'd feel pretty good about myself. I barely have a grasp of my own language.
It's like every time I speak, I go to Europe or I speak to people from Europe, they're speaking to me as if they're from Minnesota, and they're like, "I'm so sorry for my English." It's like, why? It's better than most people in my own country.
I mean, you may not get like a Brady Bunch reference or something. That's about it. You guys are great.
References I can understand, but
Yeah.
your
pronunciation
pronunciation's
Fargo accent? Minnesota accent?
Yes, it actually is. Yeah.
On the show? Yeah. All right. Yeah, I've been losing my hair since I was like 20 years old, and I started to use minoxidil, which didn't work out quite well. How did I know? I'm 29.
How 29, okay.
I'm 29. But I stopped using it after 2 or 3 years because it didn't work out that well. And I've recently acquired a hairpiece, actually 3 hair pieces, and I'm not quite happy with it because I think it does not look that natural. I think I look now like a 14-year-old guy, but I feel that I don't want to look like a 14-year-old guy. And I know, Spencer, you've talked about this, that you can get those laces and get it with a density of 40 to 50% or whatnot, and you may look better, but I think it's quite expensive in Germany. There are not so many people who offer it, and I think I'm now something of on a crossroads now.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So, where did you get your hair pieces from?
In Hamburg, actually. It's like a 2 or 3 hour drive from my hometown.
So you went to a facility. You went to a salon.
It's a facility, like a hair salon, like a hair club.
Right.
So I'm going into it like every 4 weeks and get a change, get a cleanup, and
So this is the problem with hair clubs and facilities like that. You know, what they want to do is they if you were to purchase a hair system that fell apart in 2 months or 3 months, you'd be pretty pissed because you're probably paying a decent amount of money for it, or you're paying for a maintenance plan. So what they normally do, and it's just, to me, it is counterintuitive, to be honest with you. They normally provide a denser, more artificial-looking hairpiece so that it just lasts longer and it's more durable than what you would buy online, which can be like wearing a disposable contact lens. So that's a very interesting, and I really do believe for the industry, for these guys, it's counterintuitive because you end up having a lot of unhappy people like yourself, as opposed to like, holy shit, this looks 100% natural. Yeah, it's only lasting me 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and I got to throw it out. But at least every time
actually, it only does look good like on week 1, and after that, it always looks like unnatural, to me at least. People usually don't see it. I'm quite open about it. Not at work, but if I go on dates with girls, also if I notice someone looking at my hairline, I usually tell, look at this is my hairpiece.
So, that's interesting. So tell me, how old are you again?
And 29.
Okay, so let's talk about that, because that's something no one talks about. So you're open about it at 29. How do your dates go? How do women react to you when you admit that you're wearing a hairpiece?
It's like something that's boiling up inside of me that I want to get out, because I think I'm a little bit self-conscious about it, because if she's looking at me and maybe she's looking at my eyes or looking at my beard, and I always think, oh my God, she spotted my fake hairline. And so that's, I developed a little thing. I take her finger and put it on my hairline, and then you see the surprise in her eyes, and I think by myself, fuck, she didn't notice at all.
Okay, but that's good. So after they haven't noticed and you tell them, what's the reaction? I mean, have you said that to someone and ended up screwing them?
Usually quite good.
Yeah.
Usually quite good.
That's fucking
great.
great.
Of course, always, but don't touch my hair while we're at it. Please don't touch my hair.
But how great is that? You're 29 years old, okay?
That's really big of you, I think. Most people would lose their damn minds if they even suspected anyone knew, much less do they have the courage to actually share this when they're on a date with someone. Who does that?
But that's the point. That's what's so great about this call, because you got Mordy from New York, who refused to wear a hairpiece, Joe from Staten Island, who threw his life away because he wouldn't wear a hairpiece, and then you have a 29-year-old guy who's going out banging cocktail waitresses 2 at a time, even after he's telling him he's wearing a fucking hairpiece on his head. That is the way that it should be. And I will tell you this. I know this for a fact. I know a very successful couple, and this guy waited a long time before he told this person that he wears a hairpiece, and she kind of felt there was something up because they wouldn't allow her to see him like after a shower and stuff like that, and he would always talk about, something about baldness or his brother going bald. I forgot. It was actually a friend of common law. So long story short, he finally came out, and she's like, "Okay, I still find you attractive. What's the difference?" Totally understood. Did not care. They ended up getting married, and now they're started this business. They're extremely wealthy. And, and he even waited. So I would say that most women's reaction is not the reaction that guys in the chat room or other people think it's going to be.
Yeah.
As long as you look good, they don't give a fuck, because you know what? They're completely fake. And they're like, oh, good. At least I could let my, my tits hang out now, or I could tell them about my fake nails or my fake tan, or the fact that my lips are been plumped up since I was 14 years old.
Yeah, to a certain point, I think I don't want that. Yeah, but I think for me personally, every morning I look into the mirror, I see the glue coming out from my frontal hairline, and I think, oh my God, you need to change something because you don't think you look natural.
Well, and that's
sometimes
important.
Like in that Budweiser
commercial.
How is it called? This commercial where I think it looks natural to others, but to me it couldn't look phonier than with a chin strap,
Well, listen, let me ask you a question. All right, so let's talk about the pieces that you purchased. How much did they cost?
Yeah, $1,000 a piece, and here's the joke. You need to buy 3 to get a discount. So normally it would be 1,200 euros, which is very expensive. And actually, I think it's the market leader in Germany. And I've been looking into another one.
They get them all from the same place.
Yeah.
Probably.
What? And tell me about. I don't mean to cut you off.
And the other one is more expensive.
Tell me about the base that you're using.
It's like a lace on top, which has like 1 or 2 centimeters poly. And I got different ones to try them out.
Do you have
poly? I prefer those.
Do you have poly in the hairline?
Poly in the hairline, yes.
Okay.
Which looks like more like a fine line, but it's much less stress to deal with it.
Is it injected? Is the hair injected into the poly, or is the hair V-looped into the poly?
It's injected, and on top it's like there are knots into a lace.
So that's the problem right there. Okay. So essentially, if you're going to use a polyurethane base, it has to be ultra thin to the point where you put it against your skin, it completely blends into your skin, and it has to be V-looped. Now, the problem with that is, the only way to inject hair into polyurethane is the polyurethane has to be thick enough to take that injected hair and to hold it. When the base is ultra thin, it cannot be injected. So what they basically end up doing is creating 2 holes for one hair, And so each long hair is turned into 2 hairs, and they thread it through. And that's called V-looping. If that is placed against your forehead, no one will be able to tell that you have a hairpiece on. But with that said, it's like fucking rice paper. So, I mean, you gotta...
It's not
What
rice
is
paper.
what is
it's fake.
sorry? What is V looping without knots? How is that done?
V-looping is basically just they create 2 holes for one hair,
Yeah.
and they loop it like a V. And
Yeah,
the only
okay.
way that it's being held is by the loop.
Okay.
So there's
So-
there's no knotting,
So here's the thing.
and there's no injecting.
I just did a quick search on my go-to website daily just to see what things cost. Amazon, and I know you have it's probably Amazon.de in Germany. You can buy V-loop no knot hair systems for $129 Canadian.
Yeah, and they will be Indian Remy hair, same that you're buying right now. If they claim you're buying European hair, you're not. And if you were, you wouldn't be paying $1,000 for it, because they would actually have to charge you more for really good European hair, which is almost impossible to find now. So it's either Chinese hair or Indian hair that's being donated to the temples, and then it's kind of processed. So if it's not laying completely flush to your scalp, and if it's injected, that is why that hairline does not look natural. And that is what most of these hairpiece providers in these clubs will provide as a poly hairline option. Now, you're right. The application is much easier. You can just remove the glue. You don't have to worry about it going through the lace and the lace getting dirty and all that stuff. But you know, it has to be a very new, clean application, and it has to be combed kind of right for it to look completely natural. Whereas a V-loop, I mean, it's not going to last you very long, but no one will be able to tell. So if it's only about you being able to see what's going on, that may be the route to go, because you're so open about telling people you wear a piece.
Yeah.
You know, you might as well just get something that you're really happy with.
Yeah, I think my thoughts are developing into something like a master plan for me. I was very anxious about taking Propecia. It was never an option for me, but after listening to the show and reading a little bit online and something like that, I'm actually now considering it, because I think I got some hair left on my head. It's very thin. I got this like unicorn pattern where you got this bunch of hair in the front, and then there's nothing and thin on top.
Right.
I got like my hair pieces will last for probably 6 to 10 months now, because I'm a year in with my 3 hair pieces. And I thought about starting using it so that if the last one, destroyed, decayed, comes off, maybe there's something like hair underneath, which I can fill in with like Topic or Dermage or something like that.
And that's possible. You could also use, you could also fill the temporal areas. You know, again, since you're used to wearing, you could kind of cut your own partial systems in, especially since these things are so inexpensive. And you could really, if you are artistic in any way, and if you believe that you could finesse this stuff yourself, you can wear hair successfully without being a part of these clubs and without being ripped off, and without feeling that it looks unnatural. The thing is, you really have to be on top of it. And it's a fucking pain in the ass, but really not much more of a pain in the ass than you're dealing with right now. Looking in the mirror and saying, oh, this sucks.
Yeah, I think there's no option like without being something like it sucks, I think. But what was I going to say? The thing about Propecia I'm most worried about actually is not the how's it called, the sexual drive or something. I think if I do notice something, I could like the ease in thing, do the ease in thing like Joe always
suggests, yeah.
Tells you suggest. like take one on Monday and one on Friday, and continue for 3 weeks or so. And if something of a side effect eases in, maybe I could stop. But I'm very worried about, like, how is it called, this gynecoscopia?
Gynecomastia.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where the man boobs come out.
Now, do you already have man boobs?
Yeah, like 7% man boobs.
So you have 7% man boobs already.
Yeah, 7%.
So what's another
maybe
2%?
7.5.
What's another 2 or 3%? Listen, it doesn't just because you're dealing with gynecomastia or you have some sort of. Now, is it because of your weight or is it something that you developed at puberty?
I started eating low carb like for 6 or 7 weeks, and I've lost like 15 pounds already. And I'm noticing that it declines.
Oh.
It's not that noticeable now.
That's great.
So
it
I
was,
think
it was just fat.
So it's just fat. It's nothing like.
Yeah, when I was heavier, and I lost about a total close to about 30 pounds. I definitely was getting some not serious moves, but my pecs looked a little heavier. And like when I bent over, I was doing push-ups or something. It was like all of a sudden I see these points. I'm like, okay, that's not good.
And so you know, Tim, when he says moobs, that's a combination of the word man and boobs.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
Don't know if you know that word, but just making sure you understand.
I think just because you had some weight on your chest, it doesn't mean that you had gynecomastia.
Right.
Gynecomastia is very specific. You're normally
especially if you lost it with a diet. So
yeah, you're normally going to feel. First of all, it usually starts at puberty, and there's usually some pain involved and some noduling involved with real gynecomastia. So just because you had some weight around your chest, there's no correlation. And again, we're not doctors, but it doesn't mean that if you take it, you're going to get it. And honestly, most people who do suffer with gynecomastia from the drug, they feel it. You start to feel a little tenderness and a little pain before anything starts to develop. And in most cases, if you catch it in time, it's completely reversible on its own.
Yeah.
You think it's if it would develop as a side effect, it may be, it may go away from itself, or there's something I could do about it if it happens.
If it happens, you're probably going to be aware of it before it actually starts to your breast tissue starts to enlarge. You're probably going to feel some pain around your nipples, a little sensitivity. Now you're going to get every side effect. Everything I mentioned you're going to get because it's in your head now. But,
yeah,
you know, that's usually the way gynecomastia starts. And again, there are cases where people will just grow nodules or a little bit more of a breast swelling. But usually there's a kind of a puffiness. Joe, take off your shirt for a second. I'm just kidding.
Pardon?
Usually there is a puffiness around the nipples. That is, one of the first signs. So you'll see it. And if you get off the drug, as soon as you notice anything, which is not going to happen, most likely, I don't have a crystal ball, it will almost 100% reverse itself. The thing is, once you reach a certain point and the nodules are too big and you have the fatty deposits, then they'll have to be removed. Does that help you at all?
That wouldn't be that good. All right.
No, but that's the thing. You're going to be very aware in most cases of this happening to you. First of all,
no question.
The fact that you look at yourself the way that you do and you had moobs, you're going to be hypersensitive to looking at your chest. And in most cases, you actually have a physical feeling of this happening. If you get that feeling, you just stop taking the drug or you lessen your dosage. And you can talk to your doctor about that.
So it's not falling out of the sky like in the Hangover movie?
No.
Like you wake up and you got moobs?
No.
That's called an allergic reaction.
Right.
Or a boob job.
Or a boob job.
What happened to him.
Yeah.
Or a boob job.
Yeah.
My question
thank
is,
you guys.
are you interested in finding cheaper hair systems than $1,000 a piece? Because, I mean, that's insanity. No one should be paying $1,000 for one hairpiece.
I would say you can go to a good place, which, and again, I don't know why their website's not great, but coolpiece.com has something called, I think they still may call it Polyskin 3. You have a combination of that in the front and lace, or just a complete polyskin hairpiece. And they're like, I mean, even if you just wanted to buy something that wasn't custom just to play with it, just to see how natural it looks, order like, 80% density or something like that, or whatever. I don't know what, they always change what the densities are, or 70% density, or light, or, middle density, whatever they call it, and get a stock piece.
Yeah.
And just cut out a little hairline, just so you can play with it. Pull your hairline back, that's glued on, and glue the shit on your head. You can take it off with alcohol, and you can be like, holy shit, this looks like it's growing out of my head. But if you try to take it off, it could rip. You just got to be aware that they're inexpensive for a reason, but they also can look really natural if you're willing to keep up with it, know that your orders can take 6 weeks, just be prepared for the process. But you can,
I might try that.
You could spend $200. You could spend $200 a month, and so it'll cost you $2,200 a year for disposable hair pieces.
Yeah, that's not $1,000 for a hair piece, is it?
Yeah, it's not $1,000 for a hair piece, and it's always going to look new.
Or if you want to stick with something you got, go to Amazon. $140. It's like it's super cheap. It's
send me the link to that. Let me see. I'll tell you if it's any good.
Let's see.
And then we'll take another call, and then we're going to call it a day.
Yeah.
Guys, can I ask you one more question? Because since I'm calling from Germany,
the answer is no.
I've been wondering, why is there no German doctor on the IAHRS?
You're going to have to ask the German doctors because they haven't applied. So as soon as a good German doctor applies to the IHRS, we'll bring them on.
I think in Germany there's this conception that a hair transplant costs anything between 3,000 or 5,000 euros, or maybe I don't know what it is, $6,000. You mostly do it in Germany, and there are actually some German celebrities like football stars who got hair transplant, and they don't actually look good. And some run around with unexposed hairlines, but you can clearly see it. And it's like you read the articles. Oh my God, this one had a hair transplant, and it cost 30,000 euros, and it really looks like shit.
Look,
we're going to
be working with FUE Europe. We're trying to get a meeting together and kind of start the process of getting more good European doctors on board with what we do as well. But we don't solicit physicians. So if they apply to the group and they're good, they'll be part of it. If there's anybody that you think is worthwhile, contact them, tell them to apply to the organization. And,
sorry to interrupt, you do have someone that started in Germany. He's in Sweden right now. And he's Spencer the...
what's his name?
Haddingen.
Yeah.
Haddingen Hair. They started in Haddingen, Germany. And they've moved to Sweden. I work with them.
That's true. We have an associate member. We just started an associate membership program who actually was originally German, from Germany.
Yeah. Wasn't that in Switzerland, Haddingen?
Oh, sorry. They're in Switzerland now. Yeah, not Sweden. Yeah, I got thrown off by the last caller. But yeah, they're in Switzerland. But they started in Haddingen, Germany.
And I'm looking at this piece. It says light bleach and single knots. I don't understand why it would even be bleached if it's on a polyskin.
They're white bleached on the knot.
No, it says light. It says light. It says light bleached. I'm looking at the link that Joe sent me. Yeah, I probably wouldn't go for this particular piece on Amazon, but there are polyskin, very, very, very thin. I'm talking about it's paper thin, V-looped hair pieces that can look 100% natural. The problem is you got to be able to maintain it, and you got to be willing to know that it's not going to last. Hair's going to be falling out of it eventually. It'll last you maybe 2 months at the most, And that's if you really take incredible care of it, including cleaning it and removing and all that stuff. I always tell guys the best bet is if you could afford it, have a new one every month, fresh. And all of your touch-ups, like say you see some glue in the hairline, you just pull it back, use a little alcohol, take the glue off, put the glue back on, and it's like nothing happened. And I see these guys who do it really well. My friend Kent Emmons was doing it. He ended up getting a transplant afterwards. But he would just tell people, the people are like, dude, you look great, what'd you do? And he's like, I'm wearing a rug. And no one would believe it because it looks so natural. So the fact that you are able to talk about it the way you do, you're still getting laid, whatever it is, if you're going to wear hair, you can spend less and you can make it look 100% natural. But I like your idea of, you know, if you still have hair and there's miniaturized hair on your scalp, Propecia may help you. And also, if you do to continue to wear a hairpiece, your goal is to save as much of your natural hair as possible so you have good temporal peaks and good donor. Otherwise, you won't even be able to wear a hairpiece if you start to lose that.
Yeah, I got like this. I think it's temple points. They're very strong still, and I got very good donor hair, and it really blends in very, very well, even on the back and on the sides. But my problem is always the front. I see it, and if I see it, it sucks.
Well, that should be the last problem. Actually, a really good hair system, usually the front is not a giveaway anymore. It's the flip in the back. Like it comes out.
Oh, no. I'm very happy about that. I think it looks very natural.
Well, then I would say play around with a new type of hairline, either a ultra thin. There's all different names for them, but it would have to be a V-looped hairline. With an ultra thin
V-looped hairline.
Yeah, with an ultra skin, poly skin, front, V-looped, not injected, and that'll solve that problem for sure.
Thank you so much, guys. And I just wanted to add that you are being heard in Germany and in Europe, and there's not only those like YouTubers, and I think you've talked about someone I don't want to name him, but he's actually German, I think.
Austrian.
Because he has some German videos. This guy who went to Turkey. And keep on with it and get the word around. You are being heard.
Well, we appreciate that. And you can help by telling others about us. And it's, look, I think your statement about us being heard in Europe is interesting because there are those in the industry that we've approached to stream this show through their web properties that said, well, you're an American show. It's like, there's a language barrier here, and it's not really worth my time. And I thought it was kind of unfortunate because I know it's wrong to think that. There are a lot of English speaking people in Europe or that understand English, and this isn't a primarily American show or English-based show.
Well, I would say most Germans speak English. Most Swedes speak English.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, most Europeans in general speak some degree of English.
So I think you're talking about it was actually a German property, online property that was like,
yeah.
Well, what's in it for us?
Yeah,
I don't know.
But also part of it was
you got hair loss sufferers who come to your site and they might want some help. I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway, but your comment is greatly appreciated, and you can help out by
borders.
Ooh, I like that. Baldness knows no borders.com. Hang on a second.
Good. All right, dude. Good. Listen, good luck, man. Thanks for the call.
Thank you so much.
You got it. Good talking to you.
Have a good night. Thank you.
You too.
Bye.
Auf Wiedersehen.
And by the way, my disc ran out of space, so you're recording this on YouTube. These are great segments.
They are, absolutely.
We need to send to the Germans.
Well said.
Anyway, 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. We'll take another call. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, guys. It's Mordy from, for the moment, still Brooklyn.
Mordy from Brooklyn, man. What's happening? How are you?
How's it going, Mordy?
Good. I'm so glad to be the last caller. I just wanted to commend you on what was an incredible show.
Oh, thank you.
You've had such great callers today. My God.
Do we have any North American callers, or were they all European?
Well, I think they were pretty much all European, right? You had German. There was a Swedish guy. There
Scotland.
was another very first called Nico.
Nico from New York.
Right.
Yeah, he called in. Yeah. So
Nico was there to represent.
Yup. So it was a great show, and I got to say that Swedish caller, he moved me, man. That guy was just like this tearjerker, man. It's like,
yeah,
whew, it's incredible, what this is, how it is so far beyond what, at the end of the day, is just something which doesn't really affect your physical health, but it just ties into so much in the psyche, in the male psyche. About your self-esteem, your self-perception, your body self-image, the whole body dysmorphic disorder thing. I mean, as he was talking, I couldn't help thinking about something that I read just to show you how fundamental this is in the human condition, that in the Bible there is talk about baldness, believe it or not.
Sure.
Samson.
It's right there. Yeah, it's right there.
Or not
next
baldness,
to
but the strength behind hair, yeah.
Well, it's actually, no, what it is it's right next to the disease, the disease called leprosy, where when the Bible is describing the symptoms of leprosy, they say if a man lost his hair, he doesn't have leprosy, he is bald. And that's a quote from Scripture. Okay?
Yeah.
So if you're a religious person, even and you believe in the divine origin of the Bible, it was important enough for God to say it. Okay.
Absolutely.
And
there you go.
And if you don't, it's important enough, it's important enough for somebody to build into the rules of the society.
Oh yeah, just the historical value of that line alone, the fact that exactly build it into the rules of the rule book of society. Like, hey, wait a second, just so you know, that guy's just bald. He's not ill. But it's still the perception was probably like something's going on with this dude, because people weren't living that long. So if you were bald, you probably started balding early.
Mm-hmm.
Relatively
speaking.
Yeah. So
this shit's been going on for thousands of years, man. And not only has the shit been going on for thousands of years, people have been thinking about it for that long and thinking about, oh, do I look right? Do I not look right? How am I supposed to react?
Dude, why do you think I was the first motherfucker to tap into this? Because I knew that this is the way we all feel about this, and no one had the balls to say it.
Mm-hmm. So what you're doing, you're creating a safe space for us Norwoods, if you will, and it's valuable as fuck all. Regardless of what you do about it. I love this last caller, Tim. That thing about, hey, you know what? You're looking at my hairline? Go ahead and touch it. It's fake. That's fucking brilliant. You want to talk about owning it. That's owning it right there.
I wish more women would like that.
Yeah. And that's another thing.
Anyway,
so
that was a fake breast joke.
When I started, God, when did they own it? Well, I don't know. I don't want them to own the hair. I want them to own the head.
I want them to say, look, these are fake. Go ahead and touch them.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Yeah. I just got that.
Yeah, it took you a little while.
Took a second.
Listen, you're getting old. You're from Brooklyn.
It took a second.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? I'll touch them real or fake. It's all good. But I mean, to get back to it, it's just it's such a big part of who we are, and it's been. And you could say, oh, it's because of the media, and it's because of celebrity, and no, it isn't. This is fundamental shit we're talking about here. It really is. I mean, and also the whole masculinity thing about it. It's so funny that baldness is caused by the hormone that makes us male. It makes us masculine. It's supposed to be the macho hormone, and yet there are men walking around feeling like their manliness was taken away from them when they lost their hair. I know I did.
Well, there's a sense of a sense of being emasculated.
I feel like a man because of it.
There's a sense of being emasculated and just having a lack of control. But I mean, the reality is, it's it's the byproduct of our. What does that sound? It's a byproduct of our of testosterone. That is obviously the cause of hair loss. So it's not necessarily just, the guys could have really high levels of testosterone, be extremely manly, have huge jaws, and have hairlines down to their eyebrows if they're not sensitive to dihydrotestosterone or the byproduct of testosterone. But yeah, totally get your point. And it's real. Listen, it's funny. We do this program. I've been doing this show for 20 years. Joe's been on the air for at least 5 straight and more as far as calling in and doing guest appearances and stuff like that. I'm still dealing with doctors from different parts of the world who we're kind of interacting with now who they have no fucking clue what we do. They think I just own some message form or have this organization or they're so out of the fucking loop, and that's why they're so lost in their practices. That's why they're struggling with competing against guys who are buying these turnkey solutions, who don't know, which end is up. They don't have their thumb on the pulse or their finger on the pulse of the hair loss sufferer. You guys, what you need and what you want. Because they don't really recognize, sadly, because they're in their own lives, at some point, some guys really recognize it, but what Joe and I do.
Right.
And what we've been doing for a very long time. And when you call and you provide, your perspective, and then we have a guy from Germany providing his perspective and a guy from Sweden providing his perspective. And
let's not forget the Scotsman who first called in and convinced otherwise.
Absolutely. And the guy from Scotland and of course, Nico from New York and everyone, we're all men in different parts of the fucking world who have the same fucking problem.
Same problem.
And it has nothing to do with our upbringing. It has nothing to do with nurture versus nature. It has to do with a reality that society doesn't allow us to talk about. And that is
and Tim said it perfectly,
hair loss
baldness
hurts,
without
man.
borders.
Yeah, exactly. And hair loss hurts.
Baldness knows no borders, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, Morty, listen, on that note, we're going to go. Thank you so much for the call. I'm glad you made it through. Always a pleasure, all right?
Take it easy. Have a great weekend,
all
you
right.
guys.
You too.
Have a great weekend, Morty.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Guys, we are going to call it a night and a day here in Los Angeles. It's still early enough to catch an early happy hour.
Early enough for me to keep working.
I'm going to work. I got stuff to do, too. I like to sound like I'm fun, like I do things.
I'm not fun at all. Yeah. I'm working my ass off.
You got no fun in you. No fun left, dude. So beaten out
I
of
can't
you
even play
by
with my toys.
Beaten out of you by these hair transplant doctors.
What's that?
It was beaten out of you, the fun, by these doctors.
I'm telling you, some of them, yeah.
Beaten out of you by WhatsApp. Anyway, we will. We're going to let you guys go. Thank you so much for tuning in. Always a pleasure to hear from people from all over the world. It's exciting to me. It really is. We are doing the right thing to get our message out there. And I apologize for neglecting YouTube for so long, but obviously that's changing. We are going to be as consistent as we possibly can. And just keep getting the message out. Do me a favor, guys. Like this show on Joe Tillman's YouTube page. Go to thebaldtruth.com. Sign up for, it says newsletter, but it actually is going to be just a feed that you get that's going to alert you to any new segments, shows, podcasts, whatever. And, of course, sign up and subscribe to Joe's Hair Transplant Mentor YouTube page, which is youtube.com/hairtransplantmentor. Joe's personal page, God, I gotta spit. I'm not going to do that, though.
That's not my website.
His personal
website.
His personal website, hairtransplantmentor.com, will give you an idea of what Joe has been through throughout all the years as a hair loss sufferer. He does work with a group of IHS members, which is terrific. But as you know, unfortunately, some people think that the only reason we are here is for to promote our doctors, like they're ours, that we own them in some way. That's not what we do. Is that okay for me to say, Joe?
Yeah, it's okay to say. I mean, look, these doctors recognize what your message is, what you do. They want to be a part of it. The ones I work with recognize what I do and they want to take it. They want to tap into what I can offer them, which is, what's interesting is promotion isn't really.
It's safe guidance.
It's not really even more than 50% of what I do for them. I don't even do that much promotion. I mean, some of the doctors I work with are tapping me for, what would you say? Guidance?
It's for guidance. How to, deal with certain issues in the clinic, how to help advance their practice as far as advance the infrastructure, what needs to be done. Is this consultant any good? Or,
that's I never talked about that. I don't think I talked to you about that. There's a doctor that I'm working with that here I am in Vancouver, Canada, and through the magic of the interwebs, I interviewed and hired a new consultant for his practice based on what I felt was necessary for to have as a good consultant: ethical, smart, understanding, and compassionate, and not out for just a buck, but out to do the right thing. And the guy's working out great. And I did this remotely, like from halfway around the world.
Yeah.
And it's actually one of the cool things about what I do is I get to help all these businesses in ways that, I don't know, it's just interesting.
Well, when I hear these guys who are still, like, especially what's happening online, and really good doctors who are like, yeah, I'm a real self-top doc or whatever bullshit's out there, to be a part of it. It's like, you do know that it doesn't even count. It doesn't even matter. And it's great, fine, do whatever you need to do, but those aren't real credentials.
Yeah, they feel this need to be a part of it for some reason, because the guy that just opened a neograft or just brought in a neograft to his spa is doing it, and so he feels like they need to compete.
What these guys don't understand is that they are diminishing the field by competing with.
They're strengthening the position of their competition.
Yeah, they are basically putting their competition, who has no fucking, they should not be doing hair transplants because they don't know what they're doing, in the exact same category as themselves. They're both seen online on these different resources as experts in the field, because they both have 5 stars next to their fucking names, and they both have paid to be, I'm spinning all over my mic, paid to be and spent enough time to become top docs.
Yeah.
You're fucking yourselves, guys. You don't even realize it.
I don't think I've ever heard any person on the planet complain to a clinic about not being able to find them on Real Self.
No. I just want to put it out there for everyone, for the owners and for Real Self itself. I think it's fucking great. You guys you're killing it. You're making money hand over fist. Good for you.
You got these
motherfuckers by the balls.
Those guys over there, they from that angle they did it right.
These guys are all suckers. I got to tell you, they're all suckers. I'm not just talking about the hair transplant field. I'm talking about these poor cosmetic surgeons who complain to me. They're like, I don't even know why I'm doing this, but I have to do it, right?
You know what? And here's what's. I just realized that one of the doctors that we work with, that you and I both work with, he is not on Real Self, and he is busier than most doctors that I know of.
Yeah.
And obviously Real Self is not a contributing factor.
Right. Well, I will tell you that these doctors will say, well, Real Self does get us a lot of attention as far as we're getting email leads and all that stuff.
And then they go nowhere.
And then if you ask them, well, are you closing these people?
What's the conversion ratio?
Yeah, well, not really, but there seems to be interest, and our competitors are doing it, so we feel that we need to do it. And it's like, you guys are fucking idiots.
Yeah.
Sorry, I mean, I'm just being honest. I'm an entrepreneur. I am a businessman. I said this before. I am an earner. I understand how to have a sustainable business. Very few people in this world are able to sustain a company like I have I'm in my 27th year of incorporation.
Wow.
Without falling on hard times.
Well done.
Try to explain to these guys, and it's just like, dude, you got to watch. You got to understand VOI, value of investment as opposed to just return on investment. You got to watch your dollars. You got the people that are your closest advisors who you're paying to do your marketing, to help you figure out, what's working, what's not working. The guys that you're paying a salary to, all they're doing is trying to juggle numbers to make them look good so that they can keep their fucking jobs. Because to be honest with you, they wouldn't be working for a hair transplant surgeon if they were really great at what they did, as far as being marketers and social media experts.
Good point.
I hate to say it. Not that there's anything wrong. Hair transplant doctors are great. I work with them. But they wouldn't be working for, $150,000 a year or whatever you're paying them if they really knew what the fuck they were doing. You know who would they be working for? Themselves.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just went on a rant.
Enough about that.
TheBaldTruth.com for archives of this broadcast. Sign up to TheBaldTruth.com. Also, go to iTunes. Sign up for the podcast. Nothing's been put up there. I keep promising that we will, but we have them all.
You keep getting downloads.
We still keep getting downloads, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, all new shows are going to be on there. We got about 15 that I could put up. I'm going to have some cast do. Guys from Queens.com, check them out. They syndicate this program. Tuesday night show is on iTunes Radio, iHeartRadio, Stitcher Radio, all the major, in quotes, air quote, radio streaming resources. People can listen in their cars, whatever it is. I do not have an app for The Bald Truth, but you can listen on thebaldtruth.com. You can listen and watch on YouTube in your car through your Bluetooth, whatever it is. Maybe we will develop an app just for the show, if we decide to do more live shows, which maybe we will. We're getting busy.
Might be able to make that happen. We'll talk.
All right, guys. American Hair Loss Association, AmericanHairLoss.org. IHRS is IAHRS.org. And
hairlossexperiences.com. One of the few very good forums online. They are very gracious enough to allow us to stream this show through their properties, and they're great guys to work with. They understand. They've been there. They don't believe in the BS. They just want you to learn as much as you can about this procedure. hairlossexperiences.com, a great place to be.
They're gracious enough and actually smart enough.
Smart enough.
So good for you, dude. The dude from Hair Loss Experiences who shall remain nameless. All right, guys, until next time, be strong, God bless, and thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the program, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid. Thank you. Good night.
I always hear a lot of guys calling in, and they're always like, down and out about their haircuts.
Sure.
I lost my hair when I was 16 to 17 years old.